Are you going to put it in the chat there?
Sure.
Or I can do it in a second. I just get the stream manager up.
How can I
chat up?
Here we go.
Pop out.
Oh, live now. Watch now. Hey, look, it's me. Okay, and people where we are.
I was going to try this week without the chat overlay. What do you think? I don't know if the chat overlay.
I don't mind. I mean, it lets people see what they're doing.
Sees what we're talking. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Now I said that, and turn it. I guess it kind of does work better. Okay. Overlay. Oh.
Tweet.
Right. Okay. It's all working. Perfect.
All right. Oh, crap. I moved the mouse out of the way and it hit a hot corner and screensaver kicked in.
What's wrong? Yeah. All right, on YouTube. Got that going. All right, you put us in the Slack. That's good. Twitter's good. All right, good. We don't really have any ads, so we don't have any reason to stop, but we can obviously stop and bullshit if we want.
Stop rocking or something.
All right, are you ready?
Sure. Yeah. Is this the pre-show? Or is this
well, I mean, I think we did the pre-show.
Oh,
are we ready for the real show? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that more pre-show?
No, I'm good.
Brett, we got to get our act together for the big conference, for that conference. I need to get with JJ. It's getting close. Got to pull it together.
I'm already volunteering to go to conferences.
Ooh,
there's
nice
FinOps conference in Austin.
Don't ruin the news. This is going to be our exciting news.
Sign me up.
What? Twitch alerts are broken. What? Did you get it on Twitter, Systems Guy? Yeah, must be. Although it just sent me an email, says the Twitch is live. I don't know. All right, for the streamers, no Cote. Funny enough, Cote is in the United States, but somehow he's further away. You know how that works. Like you leave, you get closer, but you get further away. So
it's a big country.
And I think I don't know, he was in Chicago, I think yesterday, but eventually he'll be back in Austin, I think. But who knows? We never really know where Cote is. All right, you ready, Matt?
I'm ready. I'm here.
Right, there we go.
Had my coffee.
All right, good. Matt, today is the NFL draft. And as much as I would like to spend the next hour reviewing who the Cowboys will and will not pick, we will not do that because no one will listen. At least the people that want to listen to this podcast would not listen to this podcast. But it got me thinking, Matt, if we were to build a cloud startup, I think we should we'll do a couple draft picks. Who would we kind of assemble, right, in the spirit of the NFL draft? And we're going to go ahead and take ourselves out of it because, of course, we would appoint ourselves and we would give ourselves like millions of dollars in stock options. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to disqualify ourselves and we're going to try to be as objective as possible. So we think of it, if we put ourselves on the clock and we think we're starting a cloud startup and we've got to draft someone, a man or woman, to come in and help us get it started. I think we'll do maybe 5 picks to construct our founding team. And I think I'm going to throw out that we start with the CEO. The CEO is probably the most important thing, whether we like that or not. We can maybe we could debate that, and maybe a different team of people would start with the potentially sales or potentially the product, but not us. We're going right here at the CEO. And I believe, I'm going to throw it out. I want your opinion. If we're drafting and everyone's available, everyone, we can do it.
Everyone.
I think the number one draft pick will have to be Andy Jassy. I believe that is. I believe we go right in. We go in and we spend most of our salary cap on getting.
I guess you're picking first.
I'm going to say, I'm picking first.
Second.
I'm taking Andy Jassy, and maybe we do it collaboratively. We'll just say
you can have Andy Jassy. I got mine.
I think so. Now, It's one of these things, though. I'm going to take Jassy, but I know like he would probably almost immediately fire me. So I need to like put myself in like an investor position or something because he'd be like, "Where's the 6-page memo?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't like to write as much, but I think he's the definitive number one pick. He's the Trevor Lawrence, if you will, the Peyton Manning, the Tom Brady.
I don't know. I'm looking at a Tom Brady, somebody who's been around the block a little longer.
All right.
He's got the ring. He's got the track record.
All right, who are you going? You're building. I'll let you go second pick. Who are you taking to start your company?
Bring it.
I don't know. I feel good about me. I mean, I think he's a hardware guy.
We're going into, right? It depends what we're building.
I'm just saying. Mel Kiper says he's a hardware guy. I'm a software guy. Like I run a software-based system. I think you got to really think hard about bringing in Tim Cook into a cloud startup.
Guy who's got the track record for managing all the supply lines and keeping the ship afloat. They're like, oh, what's going to happen after Steve Jobs is gone, and Apple's done all right.
Okay,
so I think I feel good about my pick either way, right?
Okay, you like it. You feel like he's flexible. He can work in a lot of different systems. Is what
I think he's an excellent operator. He knows what the offense is capable of. He's going to work in the system and he's going to maximize it.
Okay.
Like Brady.
All right. I like it. Okay. I like your pick. I mean, can't argue with it. I mean, no.
And big Auburn guy.
Big Auburn guy. That's right. That's right. War Eagle. Okay. So you're going to go Tim Cook. All right. Next up. So I got my CEO. I think got to have a product next. Right.
That's where
I'm going to go. I'm thinking product and I want you to help me. Like I want to actually, call in because you're really a better scout here. It's like, I feel like I got to get somebody off the Kubernetes, original team. So with that, like, would I go Joe? Is it Joe Beda?
Yeah.
Is that the right? Like, who? Like, which person? Because there's three, right? And that's always a little tough. Like, who really do you think would be like can pull this product and really code it up? I don't need someone to talk about it because we're at such an early thing. We need somebody that can actually get in there and just be like, I'm going to spend 6 months building this. And I'm going to make it happen. So that would be my guess. But I want your opinion. Like, where would you go?
Yeah, I mean, I assume, given our audience and the topics, we're in the cloud native space. We're not just building consumer industry. So maybe Tim Cook wasn't the best pick.
Hey, you go your own way. I'm gonna let you pick.
Yeah. But no, I think somebody's got their finger on the pulse. They know they have a strong vision for what the future is and ostensibly how to get there. I mean, I think Joe's fingers are all over like what VMware's been up to. I think most people agree with that.
All right, I'm gonna take. I think it's maybe controversial. I think there are other potential people in the Kubernetes that I'm missing, but I think he's gonna be my product person. I'm gonna get him in. He's gonna make it happen. So I'm gonna take him as my number 2 pick. Now, okay, Matt, where are you going? Where are you gonna go?
I don't know, man.
You gotta get a product or sales. That's the obvious things. You gotta fill out your roster at least here.
Yeah. I think product or sales.
Or you go your own way, I guess.
No, I mean you're right. You have to have something to sell. Or you have to have somebody who can sell whatever you come up with. And
the other.
I think this caught me a little bit flat-footed. I didn't know the draft was today. I feel like is that
you gotta get on it.
They're surprised that there's a draft today.
That's right. Just because you leave the United States doesn't mean we forget about our sports. But go ahead.
I'm gonna grab somebody from sales. Can I demote a CEO?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll take Benioff.
Benioff, nice. Now
because he hits kind of two. He's got a strong product view, and obviously he's got the sales background.
I like it. Now I say like I like you're assembling great talent. And I gotta be honest with you, culture I'm a little worried about. I'm a little worried about the culture of your team because there's some pretty strong personalities with maybe undefined roles a little bit. I mean, not to criticize another man's team, but it is looking a little bit top heavy, shall we say?
It's a what do they call it? A team of equals, or I'm building the Nets. What's going on here?
Okay, I like it. There you go.
Or the Warriors. Yeah,
I like it. Hey, listen, hey man, if Kevin Durant can't win, who knows? Maybe Benioff fix. All right, I like your pick. I like your thing. All right, well, I got my CEO, got my product person. I got to have someone out there talking about it though. I got to have somebody out there that's going to be, evangelizing it. So this is a real safe pick. This is like taking a solid left tackle. I'm taking Kelsey Hightower. I'm taking him as my evangelist. Everyone loves Kelsey Hightower. He'll play for 20 years. He'll be perfect. He'll be giving us customer feedback, and he'll be really empathetic to the audience. So I'm bringing him in as my number 3 to help me go evangelize and build up my communities. That's where I'm going. What about you? Where are you going in your third pick?
That's pretty solid. I'm going to go with Ashley McNamara. Ashley Willis. Ashley Willis.
Recently, if we should say in real life, I guess we'll say like a free agent signing, right? Because she just moved from Microsoft to Google. Isn't that the word?
Team Google, right? So she and Kelsey and Nathan, and they're building the evangelism team over there. She's got some marketing background. I like it.
She's got good experience. She's been in a couple different places, right? Knows a bunch of different playbooks. I think that's a good. I had her on my list. I'm a little disappointed. That's now after. Hold on, gotta keep take her off my board right now. Yep. Taking her off the board. I'm a little disappointed that you. I didn't think you would be prepared to say her, so I'm a little. I'm happy that you got in there, but a little disappointed. All right, with the 4th pick, I think we got to get out. We got to have someone in marketing. I don't want a traditional marketer. I want someone who's making noise. I want someone who's out there making noise for us. So I think their only obvious choice, Corey Quinn out of the Duck Bell Group. Now, Corey will probably have a very short tenure because Andy Jassy will fire him less than a year. But what I'm thinking is Corey Quinn comes in as kind of that startup CMO, creates a ton of noise, potentially controversy. He gets the word out. And that's what's going to help us build the pipeline. And then we send Kelsey Hightower out there to like calm everyone down, make them feel, everyone feel good. So I'm taking Corey Quinn as I know you probably wouldn't even like to be considered a marketer.
He's like, what are you doing to me? What are you doing? I mean, if we're taking people against their will and sticking them in marketing, I'm going Elon Musk.
Draft. That's what a draft is.
That's my draft. I'm putting Elon Musk in charge of marketing.
Oh man, wow. That is your, I guess it's your 3rd or 4th pick. Okay. Your team, so let's just recap. You have Tim Cook, Mark Benioff,
the steady hands running the ship in sales.
I think Ashley's already quit this job. I don't think Ashley's, I think she's going to fail to report to camp.
Yeah. I think she doesn't have patience.
I would not come to this group of people. And then Elon Musk
hey, wow,
you're going to need
tell me somebody who makes more noise for less dollars.
All right, I'm gonna leave that there. We'll maybe hit on it a little bit later. I'm a little shocked by it. All right, so the final one is I feel like we need really down to 2 people I'm thinking about. Like I want someone out there helping with strategy, knows the market. I think somebody, of course, that likes podcasts, right? So I was gonna go Matt Assa here, but I'm gonna go with our good friend Brian Gracely from the Cloudcast, because I think he's just a pillar of calmness, right? He's always very calm. He has the Sunday afternoon show. It's just finds it very mellow. He's also very knowledgeable, seems to know a lot of people. So I think he's like an operator. I think he's an operator within the industry. So that's how I'm going to round out my team. I'm going to take Gracely. And of course he runs podcasts, and that's what's, the most important medium is podcasts. So that's going to be my 5 that I'm going to take. And I'm anxious to hear who you take your team out with. I don't know. I think your team needs some kind of counseling as the final. You need an HR person.
Can you imagine the offsites? It's going to be so
okay.
good.
All right. So
give
me
I'm bringing
your final pick, Matt.
For engineering. I'm bringing in Werner Vogels. He's going to be my engineering. He's gonna make sure that the product is shipping. Where whatever these people come up with, he's going to put it together, and Elon's going to sell it. It's we're gonna have like the top sales. We got the CEO, the steady-handed CEO and product, and then the crazy stuff happens in the middle.
All right, listen, I think you have definitely built a team of incredible potential and talent, but I just don't know. I don't know
with a payroll of like $48 billion.
I mean, your team really could make hundreds of potentially trillions of dollars, or your team could result in massive lawsuits.
My team is going to get some books written about them.
yes, you will. I'll tell you that. I for sure on my team I will have Brian be podcasting about your company. That will be another way that we'll be making money.
And that's Elon's key, right? He's got everyone else talking about him.
He does. And I don't know if that's all right, true. All right. Well, that's good. So, let us know. I'd love to hear, people can email us, or more importantly, go in the Slack, and maybe you can pick 5 people to start your cloud company, and we'll critique it like I did to Matt's. So, but Matt, in real news, there's been an incredible amount of news again this week. Huge movements in the industry, but we are lucky enough to break news. No announcement, something no one has heard about in the entire industry. You have recently taken a new job. So forget about Twitter, forget about Netflix, forget about the earnings. Matt Ray is on the move. So Matt Ray, would you please announce to the world in an exclusive news breaking event here on Software Defined Talk where you will be continuing your career?
I'm taking my talents to I've joined Stackwatch, the makers of Kubecast. So depending on what you call them, they're either Kubecast or Stackwatch, but that's where I started.
Maybe we should start there. What should we call I know this company as Kubecast myself, but what is the correct name to be referring to?
So it's kind of like Alphabet having Google, right? Stackwatch has a Kubecast in case they need to free it, give it up, give it to a foundation or something. So my email address is at Kubecast. So
okay, I like
when I try to explain the name of Kubecast, I switch back to Stackwatch because it's a lot easier to for non-cloud native people. I'm like, okay, cloud, we do cloud financials, and they're like, whew, and they're like, how do I pronounce Kubecast? I'm like, Stackwatch.
Well, first, I like that you immediately compare your new company to it's like Google, $1 trillion, or Alphabet, $1 trillion company with multiple divisions. You're like, it's the same. It's almost exactly.
I mean, right now we've got one division, but soon, we'll have a automated.
So you'll have balloons. We have balloons. That's what I want to know.
Balloons. Yeah.
All right. For those of us not in the know, and I guess I know you just started, so I guess we're almost doing like a mock interview.
Yep.
Here, it's like, what exactly does Kubecast? I'm going to call it Kubecast. What does Kubecast actually do?
So it's cloud spend monitoring. It starts as a service you run inside your Kubernetes clusters, and you hook it into your cloud billing, and it provides insight into how efficient your cloud usage is. And so as you're driving around on the dashboard, you can see, hey, you're spending, $10,000 a month on EC2 instances, and looking at CPU and RAM, you're 9% efficient. So you see I'm overspending, or, and then it provides recommendations. It has a recommendation engine for ways to improve the efficiency of your spend. And it's not just Kubernetes, right? So it's it runs inside Kubernetes, so that's probably going to be there. But it's looking at S3 buckets and some of the other services that you're consuming and using, and it just looks for ways to knock 20, 30, 40% off your cloud bill.
Nice. Okay, so we'll do the basic questions here. Does it support all the major clouds? Really being
AWS,
and
AWS, Azure, GCP,
okay.
and then of course we're working on it's open source, but we're definitely working on the other providers, Alibaba and Oracle, and bring your own and whatever it may be.
Okay, and so what do we how do we deploy this baby? Is it a software as a service SaaS model? Do we got to put some stuff in our AWS environment to get the costs? What do we have to do? How do we get this working?
You currently you install it to your Kubernetes cluster, or clusters, and we it connects your Prometheus and whatnot, and pulls all those metrics together and gives you a dashboard in your Kubernetes cluster.
Okay. And that's where probably recommendations it'll just tell me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's got a UI, and it shows you, hey, here's the things that we recommend, and you can drill down into, you can slice and dice your data anyway, right? You can look at namespaces, you can look at pods, you can look at per you know it's got a lot of ways to slice and dice. So, last week y'all were talking about Excel and everything, and I could
Uh-huh.
just, I could see that model in my head of like, pivot tables on pivot tables of ways to look at all this data. Because there's a lot going on. There's a tremendous amount of data there, and it's fascinating, right? It's fascinating to see like the patterns, because what I've been doing is I've been watching um, customer calls, recordings of like onboarding sessions with customers, and watching the walkthrough of like, oh, you installed it, it's been gathering metrics for 2 weeks, let's look at what we found. And so you get to see like customers, of all sizes, people spending $3 million a month on AWS, and people spending 200 $200 a month on AWS, or GCP or whatever. And it's just like, hey, do you know that you have 7,000 instances that are orphaned, that are just sitting there, or all these EBS volumes that aren't doing anything. So I've been big fan of like Corey Quinn's work over at Platypus, and at Duckbill, and so now that like I'm peeling back the covers and seeing that world, it's like, this is cool.
Nice. And what is, I guess we should ask this early on, like what exactly are you going to be doing there? What is your quote unquote job title?
I am a customer success manager. So my role is our larger accounts to get special individualized attention, and so I'm going to be making sure that they're happy using the product right, and taking them on the journey to make sure that they continue to succeed with the product.
I like it. And, my powers of incredible research that I've been doing around this announcement is, looks like KubeCost raised 25 million in a
Oh
Series A.
yeah. They heard I was
Uh,
coming.
so that's right. And so is there any money left over after you've taken it all in your first year signing bonus? Was there anything left for anyone else?
Yeah.
Most stuff?
There are they're doing a lot of hiring, and we've got I'm not sure what my employee number is. It's probably in the 30s somewhere, but a lot of people join this week. A lot of people joining next week. It's taken off, and it's exciting. Because they already have a lot of customers. That's what's kind of crazy. Is like, it's open source. So there's the open source component is GitHub, KubeCost, and there is a whole lot of thousands of deployments of the open source, and then the productized version is like, hey, we'll aggregate things for you and give you more insights, and canned reports and stuff like that. So they have thousands of users and hundreds of customers, and it's still early, so that's kind of exciting.
I love it. And so how did you, like, people always want to hear the story. Like, how'd you find these people, or how'd they find you? Like, how did they, take us behind the scene of the interview process? How did someone hire Matt Ray?
Well, the key is networking. I wish, when I started looking for a new position, I reached out to people I know, and I got some really good leads from a lot of folks, and I talked to a lot of exciting companies. But Chris A from the CNCF, he said, hey, you should check these folks out. It sounds like it's right up your alley, and it was. They were. I talked to them pretty early, and I talked to a lot of different people at KubeCost, and after every call, I was like, this feels like something I like. It was just, I mean,
No, it's
listeners
true. Right?
listeners of the show kind of know, like, I'm in this weird nerdy intersection of like tech and business and stuff, and it's like, this is right up there, because it's like, people using this are not going to be they're not new to DevOps. And so it's a fairly advanced customer base, and they have large cloud spend, and you put our stuff in there, and it starts, just getting to see the customer stuff is really cool. So obviously I can't talk about customers, a lot of NDAs and stuff rolling around, but just seeing the way products are being deployed and the usage patterns, it's fascinating. There was a quote I heard. I think it was I think it was Corey Quinn, but he said, if you show me the bill, I can tell you the deployment patterns, to paraphrase. And it's true. Once you see a couple of these, you're like, oh, I know where to look. I'm starting to see the things to look, and we're productizing some of that. Having recommendation engines, and these are the places to start saving money. And it's also like it's a super easy sale. It's like, how would you like to buy money for pennies on the dollar?
Yeah. No, I do think that's one thing about all of these, I'll just call them largely cost optimization kind of products. It's pretty simple, right? It's like, it doesn't take like a lot of lead up. Let me explain to you the problem. You're like, no, hey, listen, would you like us to help you reduce your costs? Let's run the tool. Let's see what it's like. And it's sort of, as they say, it pays for itself. Like, I mean, it's doing right if it's doing well. So, well, listen, congratulations. I see here, it looks like anyone can sign up for a demo. And now it says get up and running in 5 minutes. I don't know if that's true. I haven't validated that, but I'm just reading the website. So maybe if those listening would like to, they can go to cubecost.com and they can decide if it gets up and running in 5 minutes. And if it doesn't, you can go into the Slack and you can just tell Matt that's not right. And then
sure. Hit me up at Slack. And of course there's a KubeCost Slack too. So
yeah. So, we'll join the software defined talk one first.
Yes,
and then Matt will tell you where to go for the other one, because we want you in that. So no, in all seriousness, congratulations. I think it's right up your alley. And I think you are going to, I think you know a lot already about all this, but you're going to learn quite a bit. I'll be interested in 6 months. Maybe exciting. You can give us like some anonymized, like, here's what I know now. Here's the answers to all the questions. So now, in other, I guess it's not technically Kubernetes news, although I do think I'll channel some Kote. It's like, oh, doesn't Kubernetes just do this? No, the answer is no. Istio, there's some news out of Istio. Istio has applied to become part of the I guess the CNCF, or become quote unquote a cloud native project. This is one of these things where, like, I guess I did actually know that it wasn't technically a CNCF project, but I've just assumed, like, oh yeah, like it is a CNCF project. So like, I'm sure there's been like an incredible amount of work and discussion to make this happen, but I will now do what everybody that is not involved in the process will be like, yeah, that was pretty simple. Of course, that's the way it was going to end. So I don't know. Have you been following this behind the scenes? Like, I mean, really ever in danger of not happening? Like, what's your take on it?
Well, it kind of was, right? Because just like when Google gave up Kubernetes to the CNCF, there were probably voices, definitely there were voices inside Google that's like, hey, we gave away too much, from the sales side. They're like, hey, we didn't monetize this Kubernetes thing as much as we needed to. And so the next few things that came out of Google, they didn't immediately really, release to the commons. They did not give up Knative. They didn't give up Istio. They held on to the trademarks, which made it kind of, people tended to, route around some of that because they were unsure of the future. Obviously Istio,
right. And maybe we should just for maybe not everybody knows. Why don't you give us the one sentence, like what does Istio do inside of the massive Kubernetes machine?
They are a service mesh, right? So they're going to handle, they're going to handle traffic routing and policies, and they provide monitoring and visibility of your workloads. So they're just making sure that all your services are talking to each other and finding each other, and you're able to keep an eye on all that. And they're not the only ones doing that. There are there's a standard now around
right. There's a way to plug it in, right? There's like a pluggable
there's
service mesh, right?
A standard for service meshes, and so they're just
hold on, I just got it. The control plane. I got a little person in the chat gave me the right word. Yes, that's what I meant to say. The control plane. Matt, please continue.
Yes, they're the control plane, right? So and it's a bit of a crowded space. There's multiple vendors and projects in the space, and Istio is one of the larger ones, both in footprint and in capabilities.
Yeah, and the history, right, is that this was an open source project. I think it was IBM, Google, and I'm forgetting someone else was involved in starting it, right? So
Lyft.
Yeah. And the other thing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Istio has traditionally, it's usually described like this. It is the most robust of the service meshes available, but it's also the most complicated. So when I hear people that are maybe potentially like selling against it, or not even selling against it, or maybe advocating for something else, they will usually start to be like, "Oh, it's so complicated. Istio is so complicated," and then they'll say something like, "Only the most complicated environments need that, and you probably don't need that." And then they'll show you their service meshes, which, I mean, it is honestly, it's a good message. I like that. When I hear that, I'm always like, I'll take simple. But but it does seem like, having said that, I do feel like Istio is sort of like, I mean, I guess it's now part of the cloud.
I don't know like the breakdown of who's using which. We'll have to look at the next CNCF landscape survey to see who's using what. But they're definitely, if not the majority, they're in a large percentage. And the nice thing about having standards is like most people are using like EKS or Azure or whatever, and so they don't even know and they don't care. But the point is the point is like they are there's good competition in this space. There's a lot of vendors, and it is I'm sure Cote would say I thought they already did this, but it is kind of a required thing for your Kubernetes deployment to have something handling this. And it is a little heavyweight. I think it was taken out of like K3S, and I think it was taken out of Knative. Things that might have had a smaller footprint, but it's pluggable. So
right.
It is what it is. But now it's CNCF. So there's going to be multiple service meshes available to you.
But I think the important part, I mean, we're probably glossing over the thing that's important. It's like, if you were worried, I was never worried. So on behalf of the industry, I was not worrying about this. But I'll just say, if you were worried that like, oh no, it's not under proper, I guess it was always under its own governance, but it was, if you will, not fully in a foundation that you felt like you could trust. It feels like that's the big news here, right? It's like, okay, it's officially part of the CNCF. It's now operated like, everything in the CNCF. Feel free to build your products, anything on top of it.
I think other vendors, there was some hesitation from other vendors, and so there's some names missing from the announcement of and so you can figure out who's not using it, but it was definitely it's definitely got a large footprint, and this is going to remove that that one talking point against it.
That's true. That's good. And so, and obviously, there are other companies that are building products on top of Istio as well. So obviously for those group of companies, it's even better, right? It's like, okay, they don't have to worry. Not that I think.
Well, and now they can compete on other stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So it's also like a bedrock kind of thing that like, if that's all you did, you've got a short roadmap, but everyone's, Solo and other folks are building on top of it.
I like this. Just got a little fun fact here. I'm being told that there are 15 service meshes in the CNCF. I'm like, wow, that's maybe 10 more than I would have guessed. So that's a lot. Well, I don't know. We're gonna let Brian Groisley work this out. Like, he's in charge of that now. I mean, I already drafted him. That's his first project. We'll figure out this service mesh stuff and tell me like what we need to do with it, because it's complicated.
I've got Werner, and he's like, I don't care about it. Don't tell it to me. We're not putting that in front of a customer.
Matt, but your new motto is like, it's fine. I'll just measure the cost of any of it. I guess that's the next question. Like, are you measuring networking cost as well, Matt?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's expanding. It's a fairly new product, but it's already very capable. And so we just keep adding more and more features, and you could just there's a lot going on. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, I think anyone that's going to track the cost of any CNCF projects has quite the product roadmap ahead of them.
That's the plugin we need. We need to show like cost based on CNCF, and it just breaks down per like this is your stuff. This is stuff you get from CNCF. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Like well, the other thing I do like that I haven't thought as much about it, but as I was reading up on this, is like one of the benefits Istio is sort of obviously, trying to make sure these network connections perform well. But the other part is, part of that zero trust message. And I'm starting to think of zero trust Now it's just more like the shortcut I kind of have to it is sort of like certificate-based authentication, right? Kind of machine-to-machine communication. That's sort of like my shortcut. Like when people say there's zero trust, I kind of think to myself, well, do you have any passwords anywhere? And the answer is no. We're just using these certificates and everything's kind of tied down real nice and tight. It's like that's starting to be like, I think that's sort of, I don't know if that's an emerging, maybe it's something we've been aspiring to, but I feel like, I did an interview with Teleport CEO a while back. They were talking about certificate-based authentication, not using passwords at all. I got another interview, someone talking about API certificates. So, I think this is all part of that story. Like if we ever get to zero trust, that's kind of how it is. It's like, can't have any passwords, none of this stuff here. Let's move to more modern ways of authentication. So that's always a little nice benefit of Istio as well. So, all right, well, good. Glad to see everyone got it done. Like I said, wasn't worried at all. I knew it was going to happen. So, finally, everyone's is done with that. So now let's move on to our next important topics, because we are financial analysts. We are the number one financial analyst.
Now that's my job, right?
Because if you come to a Software Defined Talk, the one thing you always get, excellent investment advice. So let's review. Let's review the earnings. So luckily enough, everybody has quote unquote posted the earnings. So we'll start with AWS. So Amazon's cloud unit grew 38.5% year over year. And I think the big takeaway here is looks like they're at about 18 billion for the quarter and very profitable. They AWS threw off over six.
Sorry, I just looked at my TD Ameritrade account.
Hey, that's the traders. The trading division isn't doing as well, but don't worry, we're the strategy analyst division. We're doing great. So the Amazon Web Services threw off $6.5 billion in profit. So that's huge. I mean, I think that in itself, that's like to me the big news is that,
and their stock's down.
Yeah, well, that's different. I mean, I think we had to look at AWS did, I would say, well, right? I think now the retail side of Amazon, not so well, but that's sort of like probably stuff, believe it or not, we're not an expert in everything. I'm not going to say I know that much about retailing, but I think it's pretty easy to make the argument that like with the pandemic and people pulling back, that there's some obvious reasons that retailing would pull back. But it really, to me, it comes down to this simple. It's like AWS is the profit machine inside of Amazon. It's been like that for a while, but I think this is just reiterates that the money and the profit is coming from AWS. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sorry. I was just looking at my portfolio.
That's just sad about his.
I haven't said because I knew.
Matt, turn that off. Come on, think happy thoughts. You got a new job. It's going to be great.
Hey, Tim Cook's still doing good for my portfolio.
That's right. Well, Tim Cook, but don't worry, you're at a new job. It's going to be great.
Not so good. Come on, get it together. But yeah, don't take stock advice from me. My portfolio's it's only up 5% now. It had been up 30%.
Well, what do you think about the only thing that I think you could jump out at this a little bit is that compared to the other earnings, we'll go through in a second. Amazon only grew 36.5%. So I don't know. I don't really feel like that's like, it's still really good. And then the numbers are so big that it's incredible.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't think we can grade down on that. And then the operating margin, right? So basically how much of that is profit? Basically, it's all the way up to 35%. So, on $18 billion, you got 35% profit and you're growing at 36.
That makes the rule of 40, right?
That gets you, Matt? Yeah. That makes you the number one pick in the Software Defined Talk fantasy cloud draft. And that's why Andy Jassy was the definitive best pick. Look at these numbers. You can't argue with them.
No, my Apple stock's up 38%.
All right, well, we'll see what it is. All right, now, in other news, Microsoft.
Is up 35% of my portfolio.
It's confusing. All right, so Microsoft makes it hard on us because it's quote unquote part of the intelligent cloud segment, which I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
I can never figure it out.
It's because they stuck the Office 365 in there.
Yeah, it's just
that is a cash cow that delivers.
That is true. Now, revenue from Azure and the other cloud services jumped 46%, so a little bit more than AWS, but we just don't know how much Azure's revenue is. We know it's not 18 billion. It's probably like between 10 and 15, I guess would be our guess. But who knows, right?
It'd be a nice problem to have.
That's right. So I think Microsoft, again, solid number 2. Nothing's really changed. Doing a great job. Rounding out the big 3 here, Google Cloud revenue of 5.82 billion. So significantly smaller than Microsoft and AWS. as expected. And they still are losing money, but I guess they're losing less money. But I guess on the growth side, growing 44%. So the numbers, I think, on Google GCP seem fine, seems kind of in line. I guess we would probably have to grade them down a little bit on growth because the numbers are so much smaller. Although it's weird to say that, like, these are huge numbers in themselves, but when you compare them to Amazon and Microsoft, it's like, you're just a lot smaller. So you can maybe make the argument they should be growing faster. So I think that's what we have to watch going forward. All right, Matt. So what's our stock pick here? Do we do anything to the portfolio or do we leave it exactly what it is?
Oh man,
you notice I can't see it. Matt's just dazed because he opened
I'm in a daze.
I have to turn off the ability for you to log into your investment accounts during the podcast. I can tell you.
I've got a bunch of long shots, and
there's a lot of self-loathing in Matt's eyes right now.
It's all my space stocks are terrible. I'm looking at Planet Labs and Rocket Lab, and but even some of the stalwarts that I thought would be fairly solid, like Amazon, is down 15% of my portfolio, and that's a big chunk, right? But I would say hold steady with your Apples, and my number one performer is Nvidia, because I bought them 2 years ago, and the ARM purchase was a small setback, but they're still up 55% of my portfolio.
Well, there's a good, if you want to look the history of Nvidia, I listened to the Acquired podcast, did a 2 parts on Nvidia and their founder, and it's like, the company's just crazy. It has crazy history. They basically, there's almost 2 entire histories inside of this one company. So if you want to learn more about Nvidia, I'd say go listen to them. We'll put a link in that to the show notes. Now, well, Matt, since you're sort of investing in the up and comers, the other thing that caught my eye is Akamai launches managed database offering for MySQL, Postgres, Redis, and MongoDB. So I'm just sort of interested, where are the challengers to kind of all these clouds going to come from? And I think Akamai's been doing some stuff, right? Because didn't they buy Linode? Do I have that right? Weren't they the ones?
Yeah.
So they're getting themselves an infrastructure as a service. Now they have databases as a service. Do we see anything here? Do we think that there's any chance over a period of time that an Akamai can slowly climb up into the ranks of the hyperscalers?
It's the same conversation we've had with Cloudflare, right? They are.
I also really I like them too. Yes, keep going.
Yeah. But I'm
and throw Twilio in there too. These are my 3. These are the 3 upstarts that I want to see them make a move.
Because they're you don't think of them as doing things besides voice and SMS, but they've got some other services, and they're coming around the edges. And I think there's there's a fair number of these folks who are they've got really solid businesses, and they're expanding into the peripheral services that you're going to need. Probably if you're using a CDN like Akamai or Cloudflare, or you're going to start looking at these other services, and maybe that's your entryway into cloud, and they are focusing on the really easy consumable services that are probably quote unquote overpriced from AWS and the like. And so I think there's a lot of growth potential there, but I don't think they're a challenger on the
not in the Magic Quadrant yet.
They're not Magic Quadrant challengers, but they're going to just keep eating away at the margins of the big players. And your margins are somebody else's opportunity, and so that's what they're doing. So they'll continue to take the air out of those balloons, but there's I don't think it's good business. It's just a good business.
Well, I think it's interesting. You kind of made the point there that Akamai and Cloudflare are both CDN. I guess I don't know if they would like that characterization, but they're really both CDN. So I don't know. I wonder if there's just something about you have all these points of presence, and you're kind of good at building data centers or managing infrastructure. Is it the natural next step to just go ahead and offer infrastructure as a service, database as a service? It's not that giant a leap. Is that, I don't know, is that positioning helpful, or is there somebody else? Because I guess Twilio, to be fair, I don't know, they probably don't really do that, right? So it's sort of they have a different set of expertise. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see if the CDNs can kind of, like, if you will, slowly move into, I don't know, we'll call it infrastructure as a service. Maybe there could be some innovators dilemma happening here, right? The challengers move up. Probably not, though. It's hard to, like, even I have a hard time. I don't know. Are they going to make it into the Matt Ray stock portfolio? Do you have a buy on either one of these?
Well, the problem is I haven't put more money into the portfolio. So I took this nest egg and put it there, and it went high highs. I think I was just running some numbers. I was up 65% at one point.
Right.
And I'm currently
it's like a Melvin Capital situation goes here, right? You've like given all your earnings back. You're gonna be basically.
I'm still up 8%, but over 2 years, that's not a great return.
All right. Well, hey, with that note, I just want to let everyone know we always are interested in new advertisers for Software Defined Talk. And it sounds like Matt Ray needs to replenish the cloud Software Defined Talk hedge fund. Looks like we are going to be taking on new capital in this coming FY23. So feel free to contact us. And don't worry, we won't invest the money for you. We'll have Matt Ray do it. That's what you want. That's exactly what you want.
Well, the problem is I can't cut my dogs loose, right? You look at something that's down 83%.
Too much emotion. That you gotta let it go. You gotta have a stop loss in there. You gotta just walk away when you're up 30%. Just take it. Get out. Right? You're too attached to these things.
I put that on a bunch of stuff, and that's how I got out of like.
You know what the problem is? You have pets. You're just too attached. You need to get rid of the pets. You need to just become just like a machine. Like who was that famous?
Well, and I had that
guy. You need more monitors. You need to be 100% focused on the math and just have no personal attachments in life. That would make you a great trader.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is I set the rules for the big boys, the big stocks, the things that I had big positions in. I set rules that, like, if they went down a certain percentage, to sell, to get out. And so I got out of Zoom when it was up like 250% return.
Good move.
It's like, hey, I got out at the peak on that.
When
but the others
execute on Zoombox, you're like, yep, got to get out of this thing.
This thing, that dog won't hunt. But the thing is, I didn't put that in, and I got out of Amazon before, and then I re-upped, and I didn't put the rules in again for Amazon. So that's why I'm down 15% on Amazon, and I didn't put it in for the small bets. So I took a lot of, like, hey, I'll take a flyer on this and see what happens. And some of them went up, and I held on to them for too long, and some of them just went down. Like most of the space stocks are not good, because there's a bunch of space stocks that I'm in. And there are some energy ones that they'll come around, but and the SPACs, all the SPACs suck.
All right, so let me summarize this. Don't take any Matt Ray advice.
Don't take any advice from me.
That's the summary. Some people in the chat are asking for your picks. I think because they want to bet against you, Matt. But I don't know. I'm not sure what they're saying there.
Wait. I did have like $500 that I just threw into Hashi, and of course it's up like to 1,200. So there you go.
Now, speaking of stocks, there's been a group of employees that are probably not going to have any stock here pretty shortly. So we'll talk about it briefly. In case you've been living under, I don't know, some type of internet rock, or just having access to any media anywhere. Elon Musk buying Twitter. It has launched. Literally everyone has commented on it. I was trying to think of something new to say. I'm not sure we even know what is new to say. I will say this, though. It does seem like for the Twitter employees, and I was listening, some of the audio was from the recent all hands. I guess all hands that happened this week after that was announced Elon was taking it over. And it was like, it sounds like there's a lot of disappointment at Twitter. And I the one thing that current Twitter CEOs, I think he said something to the effect is like, hey, we're just going to continue to execute things as normal. And I will just assure you, the one thing that I'm sure is going to happen, nothing at Twitter in the next few months is going to be normal. It's going to be 100% as different as it possibly can. Now, my only real thought about this is, like, I think it's going to lead to a bunch of people either being forced to leave or wanting to leave. But in the true lemon out of lemonade scenario here, I think between this news at Twitter, some of the Netflix stock not doing as well, and some of the Netflix employees maybe deciding they want to move on, is that you could potentially have a ton of tech talent kind of like sort of exit at the same time that I think is probably interested in starting their own thing. So do you think we'll see like a little, like we'll call it, I don't know, the Elon startup bubble kind of pop out
the
as
Renaissance?
yeah, or maybe it's the Reed Hastings, Elon Musk kind of like, kind of with those companies kind of undergoing big changes. You think we're going to say here, like maybe in the next 2 years, we're going to have a whole bunch of little startups pop out, and of course, maybe a couple of them get real big and exciting. What's your take?
So.
What do you think's going to happen?
I hope so. I do feel like we're running out of companies to talk about, and there's been a lot of consolidation, and I think it's time for some fresh new ideas in the marketplace. And so, I look forward to, hopefully we can have like a retrospective in, 18 months or whatever, and be like, these 4 companies, came out of that, these 2 Netflix internal projects turned into these startups, and, this Twitter team did this, and, hopefully there's some interesting things coming out of that.
I feel like that's going to be the first slide of the next, whatever, like 100 pitch decks that are kind of shown around the VCs out there in Silicon Valley. Be like, we're 2 former employees from Twitter and Netflix, or vice versa, and we've always wanted to do this idea, and this idea is great because of this reasons, and the time is now because we've made some money at our previous jobs, and there's obvious reasons why they left. Like that's just going to be like a story that's going to be told like a million different times. I don't know what else. I was trying to think, like, do we have any other advice for the Twitter? Because I don't know, nobody's ever been through an acquisition quite like this. I was thinking of like, what would the normal acquisition stuff? I would say something like, well, most acquisitions kind of go slow. They don't necessarily be massive failures usually, but they don't usually have radical change either. Like most of the time it's kind of like just not much really happens. But in this case, that doesn't seem to apply. Like, who knows? Like, I mean, anything seems possible in this kind of acquisition. One person buying an entire company and can kind of come in and just do anything. Because that's the one thing that's really different here, is that the pace of change, I think, will be super fast, right? Like people will either be gone or new product features will come out, but they're like nothing about it that I sense will be slow. Now it could be good or it could be really, really bad, but I don't think it'll be slow. What do you think?
I think, my marketing guy, now that he's taken over Twitter, I think he's going to back out. I think he's going to back out. I'm calling my shot. I think he's going to back out because, he's got $1 billion back out fee or something like that. But I think the valuation
for his wealth is kind of nothing. I mean, it's not very.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he got what he wanted. He shook up Twitter a lot, and you can see like, it got, there's this massive influx of new users and an outflux of users at the same time, and changed the conversation, and people are fleeing it. And so he's like, I don't think he really wanted to like. I think he just wanted to stick a stick in a honey and a beehive and just see what pops out, right? And so he messed up the hornet nest, and now like, the company's on shaky footing, people are leaving, and it's like, if he takes over, he's not going to make more money with it. I mean, he might have some ideas, but he shook them up a lot, and I think I don't think financially it makes a lot of sense. They're not going to be worth what he's offering them after what he did to them.
No, I think I don't know. I normally would like to like pretend like I have some like really good strong opinion here. And it's like what you just said there makes sense. I could see that happening, but I don't know. At the same time, it just feels like, well, I mean,
doesn't he have other things to deal with? He just got to get us to Mars, man.
Well, I think this is the hardest thing about like an acquisition like this, is like it's really just driven by one person who's kind of known to be, I don't know, to make a lot of rash decisions, right? I mean, I think that's not like, I don't think that's any news. And so like, I don't know, like in other places there'd be like, oh, the company works like this, or there's bureaucracy, or there's sort of like some kind of culture to kind of point to like how decisions get made. But like, I mean, when you just read Elon Musk's Twitter feed, if you are so inclined, you're like, it's just so random, right? And there's just like stuff all over the place. So that's why I just think it's kind of this thing's like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have zero, but I would say, if I was at Twitter, I would just be like, yeah, I think you got a plan for like, if he's not aligned with someone you want to work with, like now's the time to like start making plans to like go do something else. Like I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he he shook them up a lot. Clearly, like, employees are bailing, and users are bailing, and being replaced by the reason they're bailing. And there's just, I don't know. I don't know what he wanted, but
Mhm.
he can't look at that and say, like, oh, I've got to, I'm gonna make so much more money with that. I don't know. I think,
Well, I thought the one thing that someone put in the Software Defined Slack this week that I thought was interesting, and I want to be careful because I'm not 100% sure that it was accurate, but like having said that, disclaimer was that it sounded like to check in code at Twitter, like you now had to have like a VP do a code
yeah,
review, right? And so I was like, wow, that's sort of like I've never seen anything like that, right? Because the idea like hey, we're business as usual, let's keep this going, but like you're so the company is so worried about something bad happening that they've sort of because think about how hard that would be. Like if you're like, hey, I'm just doing my job and I'm checking things in, like that would be pretty amazing for like such a large, software based company to do it. So that was kind of shocking to me. So, but again, like if I'm just spreading rumors and that didn't really happen, or that was sort of just some random thing, someone correct me. But that was like the biggest, most unusual thing I saw about that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
that's why he runs my marketing department.
All right. Well, you drafted him. You're gonna have to live with it, Matt, one way or the other. But Matt, speaking of marketing, listen, here at Software Defined Talk, we have a huge marketing budget and we spend all of it on stickers. So this week I sent stickers to Sam in Cambridge. He tells us he really enjoys our conversation. So Sam, we really appreciate hearing that. And if you would like to have a sticker, we can send them anywhere in the world if you send your postal address to me at stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I'll be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. I'll be happy to send you as many stickers as you want. So you want a couple, let me know. You want one for your whole team, just let me know. I'll be happy to do that. And then Matt, did you know we have a bunch of conferences coming up, but Software Defined Talk, at least myself and JJ, are going to be at the DAT conference. That's here in Texas, up in Round Rock, so not far from Austin, just north, on May 23rd through the 26th. And we'll be doing some type of live recording there, which will be really, really good. Cote is going to be at DevOps Days Austin. So that's happening next week, May 4th and 5th. So if you're in town or
Be there.
you want to register for that and check that one out. DevOps Day Chicago, that's going to happen May 10th and 11th. And then there's a whole bunch of other conferences you can look for the rest of the summer. Matt, I'm sure you'll be at one of these conferences.
I'm going to try. It's still a long haul.
Yeah. And I guess we should all you're still going to be based in Australia, right? You're not moving. There's no,
not yet.
Yeah, okay, not yet. Not yet. So Matt's still in Sydney. So if you want to find Matt, you know where to get him. All right, Matt, having said all of that, what is your recommendation this week?
So I had a little bit of downtime before starting my new job, and I played a game called Factorio before. I think it was a pick once a long time ago. I picked this week as a expansion pack for Factorio called the Factorio Story story pack. It's this dude in Czech Republic has put together 10 stories, like a campaign for a game that had no campaign mode. So it's quite impressive.
And this is the what you play is like it's a co-op game, right? Like it
can be. It can be. It's
Would you play it with your son or something? Or
I have played it with my son.
Okay. All right.
It's if it's you're building you crash land on a planet, and you have to build your civilization from starting from scratch. And so you build stone and iron and steel, and work your way up to drones, and the goal is to get to space flight and get off the planet. And then this guy put together a campaign for a game that has no mod engine. It has no campaign builder, and it's very impressive. So I threw him a couple bucks on his Patreon, and looking forward to how that goes.
Nice. Well, I want to check it out. Well, it reminds me of Netflix big plan is to get into gaming. And then I hear all this stuff this is another example of man, gaming, very difficult. People just gamers just build stuff they want. It's all this random stuff.
Yeah.
It's just it's fun stuff. And it's I think part of it is sort of the mods and everything. And I'm always unless you're doing all that kind of stuff or you understand that culture, man, I don't know. Netflix, I worry about you. I maybe just make better TV shows. That's
Man,
like
my
my
Netflix
entire
stock-
one-page
Ugh.
pitch for Reed Hastings. Like, you need to make better television and movies. Don't build games. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. All right. Well, closing out our annual sports podcast that we do when Cote's not here in the spring, I'm going to recommend the Formula One TV app. So F1 TV, I've gotten into Formula One over the last year. If you've never seen Formula One, or you think yourself not that interested, you know what you should do? Go watch the Netflix series Drive to Survive. Kind of like shows you who all the drivers are. I think it's really compelling TV, fun to watch, even if you're not a sports fan. But then this year, I went ahead and I signed up for the F1 TV app. It's great. And it's like, I can watch all the races on my phone, Apple TV. And it's really nice because it has a bunch of different feeds, a bunch of different stats. So once you know who all the drivers are, and you can listen to all the commentary as they're racing around. And I really like it. I think it's been really fun. So if you're interested in wasting more of your time by watching sports, check out the F1 TV app. And that's going to close it out this week. If you want to learn more about Software Defined Talk, you should go to softwaredefinedtalk.com. There you'll see links to all our episodes. Matt, did you know we have I think we have every single social that there is. We have Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So I don't know. And we even have a TikTok. That's out there as well. Although, I'll be honest with you, not much content on the TikTok. I got to go on. I'm not sure.
We're missing out on Weibo and Baidu, and
Well, we're working on it. We'll continue. I'll get with the social media team, and I'll make sure we get more posting out there.
I am on Signal, though.
All right. And with that, we will talk to you next week.
Goodbye.
All right. Good episode here. Now I'm trying to read all these comments as we were going through here. So, all right. So it sounds like multiple outlets reported that code review thing by the VP. So I feel good about that. All right. And then Brett, and then Brian asked, yep, I guess we are a financial path. You did give a very detailed overview. I can tell, Matt, you need to not log into your portfolio. Like you we lost you there for about 5 minutes. You were like deep. You were like one more click into like, let me get the spreadsheets out and run some regressions about like what I've lost. So
no, I mean, that's yeah.
We should have Matt Ray's winner of the week. Maybe that's what we need to do. Like maybe that's a new segment.
The winner of the week was Hashi. I just kind of like, here's $500. I'll buy some Hashi, and then now it's like 1,200. It's like, what's going on over there?
Good.
I should have put in like 5,000.
Well,
I didn't. Instead, I've got like
you're the first person to ever like think about maybe if I can go back in time, I'll put more money in my winners and no money in my losers. Like, no one has ever else thought about.
Yeah.
That's like so. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate everyone hanging out. We will record most likely next week at this time or very close to it. So it's always fun to see everyone in the chat. I always enjoy seeing it. And so, Matt, you have any final thing? Oh, we can turn on the music here as we kick it out. Can you hear it? This is the chill music. Everyone like it? We really got Brian. We need Brian to hook us up with some freely licensed music. He's got like the whole DJ thing happening. So Brian, I'm sure you have nothing to do in your new job. Send us some type of free licensed music that we can play. Otherwise, we're stuck with this chill music from Restream. All right. Anything else, Matt? You got anything else final to say as we wrap up?
I'm good.
All right.
I got to go find a new chair. That's
all right.
My goal for the next 2 weeks is buy a new chair.
You can do it. All right. Thanks, streamers. We'll talk to you later.